Ah, hello, my friends. Thank you for coming on my live stream tonight. I'm glad that you can spend a little time with me. We're going to have a lot of fun as I talk about tears and shame a little bit. And I'm kind of curious. I want to apologize. I'm never really ready for my audience the way I should be. I apologize. But you know the old man, waiting till the last minute. I just had a great dinner also, just a fantastic dinner. But I'd like to ask you a few personal questions, okay? And I hope that you will feel free enough tonight to kind of go through this with me. Uh, it may be difficult, and then again, maybe it's not difficult. I don't know. Uh, as I told you on my last cast, I'm not going to choose a side. I think if you have to do that, you go ahead. And I would oh, good evening, Evangelist Boogie. I'm glad that you're on. I think that you're going to love the way I'm doing this. I'm not going to take a side in any world conflict simply because I am a lover of humanity. And since I love humanity, I love the individuals on both sides. I love the Israelis as well as the Palestinians. I love people from New York City and people from the Panama Canal. I love all the Dominicans and I love all the Nigerians. I don't have one special group of humanoids that I love more than another group. That to me would make me appear to be totally ridiculous. And I don't think that I would be able to stand the test if I were totally ridiculous. And I'm doing some more catching up things here. And so don't pay me any attention. I'm just trying to do what I usually do. And I'm not having very much success. Let me do this. Okay, here we go. Now, when I do this, you guys know PJ. Well, let me do it without doing that. Let me do it this way. Here's my request of the day. I just had a wonderful dinner. I had a nice slab of salmon with the spices on it, when they season it up and they put it in a sealed pack, and I had it frozen. I bought the piece of fish a number of days ago, and I was thinking about when I would eat it. And tonight I said, yeah, John, eat that salmon. It's delicious. And I took it out, I prepared it, put some butter on it. I like my ooh, the salmon to be buttery and delicious. And I had corn, sweet corn, and I seasoned that up. And I had rice, white rice. And that's what I had for dinner. And it was delicious. And I thought as I was eating, that some people on the other side of the world were doing that. They were eating, enjoying their meal, whatever it is, and all of a sudden, the roof flies off, a massive explosion, the walls are blown out. You're looking at your family eating, and the next thing you know, you're falling 4 or 5 stories, being crushed by the concrete that you were in. I'm thinking about that happening all around in the region where you live. I'm thinking about you at the rock concert, enjoying the music, and all of a sudden, hot lead hits you. What I'm asking you to do is do this with me tonight. Will you feel the pain? Or can we, as American citizens over here, feel the pain that those people are feeling? Will we allow ourselves to feel the loss that some family members and friends are feeling right now? Will we allow ourselves to be drenched in their sorrow? Can we be in touch with humanity so much for an hour or so as we think about what we have the ability to do, what we have the ability to eat, how we have the ability to be happy? Someone told me when I told him that I was going to have this discussion tonight, he said, "Oh no, they aren't going to like watching your show because we want to be happy. We want, to be in a jovial spirit. We can't, we don't want to concentrate on things like you're talking about, John. You're asking your audience, you're asking of your audience a little bit too much, John. A little bit too much. They aren't going to want to be carried away by your visions of feeling sympathy for other people." Well, I think that we can sympathize with other people. As a matter of fact, I think that it is important that we do sympathize with other people's loss, with their pain. And why wouldn't we want to do that? Um, if I can put it this way, okay, let me put it to you this way. Here we go. This is what I wanted. If I can put it to you this way, maybe you can get the point of what I'm talking about. Hold up. All right. Here we go. If you had an opportunity to be able to experience what a lot of people are experiencing on the other side of the world. Okay, I got one comment and I'm going to read it in a second. I'm just doing this right now. Okay. Yes. That's what I wanted to do. Yes. That's what I wanted to do. There we are now. Okay. If you had an opportunity, well, let me see what the first person is saying to me. It is happening amongst our Black community every day, which is why this person says, glad that I'm active in healing my community. And this person says that he works in the social service industry, and he deal with it firsthand. And that's good. That's good that you're dealing with it firsthand. But are we really feeling it? Now, and listen, we're not taking sides. We're talking about being human. Elder Ben, thank you for joining me tonight. I'm just dealing with this sadness and the sorrow that's happening all over the world, not just in war torn places, but what our earth is doing. Earth is shaking, people are dying, people are losing loved ones, right? Let's see. Richard Callahan, okay. We have a female pastor. Well, thank you for joining me, Rachel. It's good to have you with us. Do you feel the pain of humanity? Do you feel the sorrow when you see pictures of adults carrying deceased babies in white sacks? Do you feel the sorrow of a grieving mother, whether she's Palestinian or Jewish? Do you feel her loss, her sorrow, her anxiety, all of this? And what can we do about it? Do you think that we as Americans, with all that we have and all that protects us from that, but it looks like we're trying to get engaged in the conflict? I see it around me all the time. So often I think that, am I going to wake up in a day or so and find that we are engaged in this war? But do we feel the pain of humanity? All right. Evangelist Boogie says that I'm right. We were once victims of them, and we know firsthand what that feels like. Focusing on our community is all that I can do about it. Well, let me think that through. I don't want to get to the place where I can hear about things like that, about what's happening in Europe. I don't want to get to the place of my life where I can hear about things like that and it doesn't move me. I don't want to get to that place. I want to live in a world where when terrible things are happening to humanity, I want to say, y'all stop it. Y'all stop doing this now. Do you guys feel me? I mean, is it always necessary to get a bigger cannon to hurt somebody because I've been hurt? But listen, my brothers, we can't be selfish. Just because we were once, no, we're still victims. We're not once victims. We're still victims. I've been accused, and rightly so. I just don't like the way my hair looks, guys, so I gotta fix myself up. See, I see myself in these monitors, and if I don't like what I see, I have to correct it. So, shouldn't we feel a sense of not picking, choosing sides, but should we feel a sense of, I'm ashamed that this craziness is going on? I'm really ashamed of it. And when I eat, I thank God for my food. I don't, I believe that God provides for me. And here's some people they can't even get. And then, my God, when I think about them sending a ground army in, and practically everybody on this advancing team has an opinion of the people that are still there. Mm, all right. Oh, wait a minute. Being active in the community makes it hard to have the luxury to sit around and be sad. Being sad instead of being active is lazy and selfish. All right. In keeping with the subject matter, then, let me ask you this question. Do you think it reasonable for us to be overly concerned about our community, or do you think that we're going to eventually pull ourselves up by our own bootstraps and heal the problems in our community? I don't mean to switch the subject matter, but can you mention in one sentence, any of you, what the major problem is in the Black community in the inner cities of our large cities in this country? Can you tell me what the problem is? Is it in leadership? Is there a leadership vacuum? And if it is a leadership vacuum, why don't we have more leaders? Where are the African American or the Black male leaders and role models in our culture today? Problems in our community. The Black man was driven from, you all know that, if you're a day over 50, the Black man was driven out of the Black home. And the Black woman was given the authority and the privilege and the right to raise the children, because it appears that somebody told me that the Black man abandoned the family. That's not true. I didn't abandon my family. You go to my Facebook page, see a picture of me and my babies. Do they look like they were abandoned? Do they look like they were abused? Just because you say the Black community, please don't throw me in there, because I didn't grow up with a bunch of people that's struggling trying to do what's right. I was taught right by my people. Now, we had some corrupt people in my family. Don't get it twisted. They know who they are. And I'm talking about corrupt when it comes to, because now I'm saying if you can get your hustle going and your hustle is not 100% legitimate, just don't get caught by the system, because the system is placed there to try to protect itself. I played my role by keeping with the system's uh, rights. That's why I never been to jail, never been booked, never did anything like that. But I know people in my community that do that if you choose that lifestyle. Now, same thing like what's going on with all these bombs dropping. Everybody was told, everybody knew that the tension was going to get so great. And everybody knows, just like in any country, under any government, when the people feel like they are oppressed, they're going to explode. And that's what we're looking at here. I don't know what being overly concerned is when Black kids are suffering. We don't need leaders, we need Black hands, especially our elders' participation in community events. There is no excuse. What elders? You talking about me? I'm 79. What can I do to help my community that I'm not already doing? I come in here in my home every other day or so. I come and I do this, and I'm asking questions because I want us as people in the Black community, we are not an island alone. I know in order for you to get help in your community, you got to help yourself. I understand that. But at the same time, we have an overt obligation to be concerned about the humanitarian problems that are happening all over the world. Elder Ben says Black community is not just about the struggling aspect. This is true. And then he says, working together as business owners and making our economy functionable is what grown men and women, I like this, do in the Black community are doing. Well, I would hope so. I would hope that they're doing it. And please, brothers, since you're talking intelligently here, put in your notes some sites that I can go to see where this is taking place. Because whenever I go and see Black people trying to come together to build something and to secure something, now you got to help me. Maybe I'm too old and maybe I missed it. I know we can put together, like we just had the Taste of Soul in the area here in Los Angeles. I didn't go because I can't eat all that. And I'm recovering pretty well. I'm comatose from eating all that high density food, that is. So what I'm trying to say is we're living in a world where we need young people to imitate what we older sages have been doing when we were producing the right thing. I'd like to know the name of a person politically or spiritually. It doesn't have to be Christianity, not at all. Physically or spiritually, as a leader in our community that some of our people can look at and really say, yes, that person would be a good leader to follow. Can you mention anyone? Every community has a leader. The Palestinians have their leader. And of course, the Jews have their leader in Israel. Our leader, so it states, is supposed to be President Biden, because in our Constitution, so it says, that whomever the majority of the population votes in, we address him as our leader and let him speak for us. That is why, even if you disagree with what your leader says here, you have the freedom to say it. Just be careful what platform you're on when you do say it. I've been here reading constantly, well, not constantly, but past couple of days, people making clear, resolute statements about what they believe in this human conflict. And it's surprising to me that some of these people have been blackballed and shut down. And they're supposed to be the kind, who can we find that can lead us? Okay, leadership is always corrupt. Evangelist Bogey says, we need God's sentiment people being decent adults. God sentiment people being decent adults. What is a God sentiment person and what is decent? Because if I fell in love with a man and said that I wanted to marry him, some would say in my community, oh, sentiment. Okay. We need God sentiment people being decent adults. You mean people that believe in Yahweh? Is that what you mean? We need people in leadership that believe in the same God that you believe in. Is that what you're saying? Well, that's not fair. I don't think that's fair. I think that we can have a leader uh sent. Okay, I'm trying to get the word. Maybe I'm not reading it right. Sentient. God sent. God sent people? Is that what you're trying to tell me? God sentient. You got to help me there. I'm not getting it. Maybe it's maybe I'm getting a touch of dementia right here or something. I am 79. Maybe it's getting ready to depart from me. Maybe my brain is shutting down. Maybe this is it. And you saw it on my live YouTube. How about, but all right. I think I'm reading what you're saying, Evangelist Boogie. You're trying to say that the kind of leadership that we need in our community is the kind of leadership that can be governed by people that believe in God. Okay? Able to perceive or feel. Well, everybody is able to do that. You don't have to be a leader. You can be a follower and do that. Every one of us is able to perceive or to feel things. But how do you know we have the right person leading us? Okay? I'm not picking on my friend, the fruit of Islam. I'm not picking on him. But when Malcolm X discovered what he discovered about the Prophet Elijah Muhammad, and he told the news media and all that stuff, and Malcolm is no longer with us. Well, he was able to perceive and feel things, but I'll tell you one thing. When you're in a group, now hey, listen, I'm 79. Do I have a right to think clearly about things? Okay. And please don't let me go to YouTube jail. I don't want to go there. I'm trying to have a nice conversation with my friends. Wait, Evangelist Boogie helps me. He says God's sentiment is being sensitive to the divine spirit within all of us. I see what you mean. I see what you mean. Some of us let our egos and ignorance get in the way. But what makes you, yeah, but everybody doesn't respond to God and the idea of God in the same way. That's why I have a problem with us bringing religion into leadership. I think what a person that can lead people should have is he should have a heart sensitive to what humanity is saying. Now, let me give you a good example. I was talking with someone, and I was talking with a new gay friend of mine that I met. And I didn't think that he knew enough about me. And so I gave him my website and I gave this long paragraph on what I've been through, the jobs I've had, what I've done, the radio shows that I had, and all that stuff, because I wanted him to have a working idea of the kind of brain that he'll be talking to as a friend, not lovers. Believe it or not, for those of you that are not gay, just because gay men talk with other gay men, we aren't trying to find a lover. We don't do that. But you want the person to know what kind of a person you are. I think that every leader of a nation should let them know that. That's why overseas over there, uh, a lot of the people over there in that land, they're rebelling against the far right people over there. They're saying, wait a minute, you got to give those people something to eat, some food or something. It's not about having the same response, it's about the fruit they bear. You can't godly in your own community is suffering and your help doesn't go beyond words. Well, this is what I'm saying. I believe this. I was telling somebody today, guess what? I had a favorite grandmother. I really did. It was my daddy's mother. Because when I was 15 years old, going to Fremont High School, my daddy was in a working job accident and he was in the hospital. And my grandma had to come and stay in the house with us kids. We were teenagers. There's about four of us. And when she came, and of course she went to church, and she would ask me to read from the book of Matthew to her. I hated it. I literally hated it. And she said, "Oh, come on, John Jr., help your grandmother." So I would read the scriptures and I began to read, and the Bible was like any other book to me. I didn't think it was special. There was anything in it special about it. I read it, and she necessarily loved to have me read the red letter edition where Jesus's words were. And I recall that I had gotten drafted 5, 6 years had passed. I had gotten drafted, getting ready to go into the army. I went by to visit her, and she told me, she said, "John Jr., God just told me that you're going to be a preacher and you're going to be powerful in what you did. Read the scripture to me again." And I said, "I don't want to read that old strange book." I said, "I don't even know what they're talking about. All these mysteries and all these things." Now, my grandmother spoke that truth into the universe, and that's exactly what I became. And I was, in my opinion, the best African American pastor that this nation has ever seen. Look at my old clips on my YouTube page. Could nobody beat me teaching? And no one has proven me wrong on anything that I've ever said that I put up on YouTube. You know how you got people coming on, "Well, I disagree with John Coleman." I don't care about you disagreeing about my own private personal lifestyle. You can disagree all you want to with that. But when it comes to this Bible, I'm not lying to you. I never told you to give a tithe because I know that we don't owe God a dime of anything that we have. Only a bootleg pimp would tell you something like that. I'm not talking about nobody, but if you know him, you need to tell him I said it. You are not commanded to give God a penny anywhere in the Bible. And if you want to do your Bible history right, if you're going to use those 12 tribes of Israel, let's get it right. Because, well, I don't want to say what I was about to say. Let me keep reading here. It says American leadership has neglected us because of our lack of involvement in politics. Well, now that's a good point. I stopped voting when I moved in this house, 1974. I didn't vote after that year. I said, I'm done with it. I'm done with it. Our lack of voting and attending community meetings, especially as elders who have the time to do so, holds us back. Well, I'm going to tell you, Rachel, they aren't going to listen to me. Young people are not going to listen to me. I don't go to those community meetings because if I stood up to talk and they're going to say, "Oh, that's PJ. I seen his crazy shenanigans on YouTube. We don't want to hear from him. He's going to come up with these old-fashioned ideas." Those ideas kept me. Those ideas kept me. All right. Wait a minute. Elder Ben says, "Well, why aren't you celebrated like Louis Farrakhan or Martin Luther King? What's the standard to be the best?" Well, those persons were celebrated, Lewis, because Lewis is very flamboyant, articulate, brilliant. He's always going to be a problem because a lot of other people of other nationalities don't think that we as black men can be that way. I would give invitations to bring messages at white churches when their pastor went on vacation. And they said, oh, he's articulate, he's this, he's that. I'm John Coleman. I'm that in my pulpit. That's right. And says, they are not young. There are grandparents in office. Well, yeah, your grandparents are in office in these high position. Uh, Name some of the young people that are brilliant. Some of the young men come by here, they say, well, haven't you heard of this guy? Haven't you heard of that? I said, you have to introduce me to them. All I see these youngsters doing is jumping up and down and flashing their gold chains. This is my little gold chain. I only have one. It's a tiny little thing. And I kept what are those glycerin tablets in this little locket for my heart. That's why I wear it. I don't have any glycerin in it now because I have an artificial valve put in here. But before I had that artificial valve, yes, I'm old. But I carry my glycerin with me. But I can think. All right, hey guys, let's play like this. Let's say, why do we need white approval? Who said that we need white approval to engender leadership in our community? I asked when I joined the Baptist Church, why are you using the rules of parliamentary procedure, which was from Great Britain? I said, why are you using that? Because in the Baptist book, it said it. And I said, why are we doing this? I said, did the first century Christians 2,000 years ago do that? Why are we seeking approval from anybody? Why can't we just lead and do what we know to do best? We have enough people in our community that's well read like myself. We have enough people in our community that can lead our people. I would love to go to community meetings, but I'm sick of listening to people fuss and argue. I recall years ago, I used to want to go to the community meetings, and I said, Lucy, they're going to make all the principals of all these schools sisters from our community. Lucy said, John, what's wrong with that? I said, honey, we need some men in there. You don't want them to lose focus of what a black man leader looks like. Evangelist Boogie says, you said it, Pastor. You were preaching for the white pastor audience. Ah, maybe you're right. I think you're right. But remember, I went to Talbot Theological Seminary, and I'm trying to do it exegetically correct. I wasn't thinking about skin color. Trust me, I wasn't thinking about skin color. When God called me to preach, I did not want to preach, guys. You hear me? I did not want that. Why did he mess with me? I didn't want to do that. I'd have said, man, if I had stayed with that city job, I would have eventually become a traffic supervisor. I would have been coordinating events of the city of LA when they had the 84 Olympics. But no, what was I doing? I was pastoring that church, getting ready to become the senior pastor. That's all I had on my mind. Do what God told me to do, and I didn't. That's why I don't have no, I'm not complaining. I have Social Security thanks to my wife, but I don't have retirement because I've never preached in a large church where people are going to give me what they call it, an IRA or a visa. I don't have any of that. And I wasn't looking out for me when I pastored. Guess what I was doing, people? And I'm glad, thank God I didn't die. And I can say it before I die. I love people. I still love people to this day. That's why I'm saying, why can't we be sad for the people that are suffering? People lost their whole damn families in one swoop. People were shot down in a concert in one swoop. The soldiers are all mad People are committing atrocities. Do we pray for people? I don't know who I'm praying to now, because now we don't know whether Jesus was here or there or nowhere. Somebody asked me the other day, John, do you still believe in Jesus? I said, it all depends upon which one you're talking about. I don't know whose side I'm on here. I don't know whether I can mention his name. I don't know whether I can mention him in public places. I just feel like saying, Jesus, help me. An African American pastor preaching for something folks doesn't sound too trustworthy, especially if the young folks love them. I say we can look at history and see what kind of African American preacher that is. No, wait a minute. A black pastor told me when he was talking with me, he said, John, are you trying to tear down the established way of black religion? That's not our religion. That's not the religion of our forefathers. The religion of our forefathers, really, if you want to be honest, we would call it looks like voodoo. It wasn't voodoo, it was our religion. That's what we believe. I believe in ancestral help. I believe that you can gain assistance in this present life that you're living from your ancestors that have passed on. That's what I believe today. I did not believe that all my years while I was in ministry. I'll tell you, I did. I just recently, within the past 15 years, came to believe that. And they assist me. Now, why couldn't I believe that? Because I was so entrenched in what all those books behind me taught me. I want to give you an example about how I did it, because if you don't realize that, you're going to misread me or misunderstand where I'm coming from. I'm over here, I'm looking for a certain book. Here it is. When my friend Zarek looks at me, he'll remember this book. And I took homiletics with my homiletic professor, Dr. Holloman, and he used this book, Protestant Biblical Interpretation by Bernard Ram. This is a book of hermeneutics. Now, I'm not going to preach to you. This is an educational attempt. And so, what I'd like to do is share with you just a few words from this, and so you can know why I turned to this. Okay, wait a minute. I'm in the preface. Here it is right here. Now, listen to this definition. And all of you that took basics with me and all of that, and you were in the classroom, you remember this. Hermeneutics is the science and the art of biblical interpretation. It is a science because it is guided by rules within a system. See, I don't believe in just putting my hand up and God's going to drop something in it. No, no, no. Rules within a system. That's why I paid 40 grand to get my master's degree from Talbot Theological Seminary. Rules within a system. I'm a disciplined mind. I don't put my hand up in the air and wait for something to zap me. And it is an art because of the application of those rules is by a skill. When I taught homiletics, that's what I was teaching those preachers. And not by mechanical imitation, because that's what the church is going through now. I call it AI, that is, artificial intelligence. As such, hermeneutics forms one of the most important members of the theological sciences. I'm a brainiac when it comes to theology. I heard a man, I'm not going to mention his name, one of the boys was showing me his little thing. He calls himself Dr. Somebody. And he was talking about all preachers, how we force you to have faith. I don't force anybody. You know what I tell people? I'll do it again to you. Okay. Jesus got up out of the grave, right? He got up out of the grave, right? How did he do it? Now, we had a discussion a few weeks ago about how did he walk on water. We came to the conclusion that he had to have suspended gravity. Now, do you know any man today that can suspend gravity in the place where he is and still function? Yes. There are certain African dances in the African cultures where I saw one today. One of the young men showed me. This African man was dancing and he looked like he was leaning over backwards and someone was holding him. Hi, Tony. Good to see you. Someone was holding that man. I saw it with my own eyes. Wait a minute. I'm going to show you. I don't know what Emmanuel looked at that thing. The man was dancing. He was looking like this. And he was dancing. And he was leaning back. And let me try to bend over here. I hope I don't pull the bookcase down. He was bending over like this. See, I'm holding on to the bookshelf, so I'm cheating. But his neck and his head, and I said, how is that man doing that? Let me close my blinds, it's still open. I said, how is that man able to dance like that? You can spiritually, listen to me, you can spiritually adjust yourself and things that is happening in real time. I do it when my friends come over. I had, guys, thank you. If any of you are watching this, I had about 10 guys over to the house. We went to brunch after our worship service at the Vision Church. And I usually don't go to brunch, but we went to brunch. And after that, they were thinking about going somewhere else. And I said, no, come on by my house. Come on by my house. And that's what they did. Why make sense of something that doesn't make sense? Rachel Callahan says, wouldn't that be false programming? No, it would be false programming if it is against your intuition to do that. I'll answer it that way, Rachel. It would be false for you to. I never practiced that and I never believed in. I had some pastor friends of mine that believed in speaking in tongues. I told them I don't do that. They said, try it. I said, why would I try anything? I don't believe in that. I don't believe it's real. I don't believe that I can get in touch with anything like that. And then I would tell them, I don't want to get in touch with anything like that. I want to speak in the only language I know. I don't know Spanish. I don't know Guatemalan. I don't know no language but English. That's all I know. See, now, Evangelist Boogie says, it makes sense when you believe. All right, Evangelist Boogie, believe what? You're believing something that another man believes. I told you about the thing when the college student asked me. College student said, Professor Coleman, if you had a chance to choose your homespun religion, Christianity, now, since you know all these things, would you choose it and force your children and your wife to go to church with you and be into that? I had to answer the student, no, I would not. Because of what I know today, I would have to offer my wife and my daughters freedom, total freedom from any man's religion, even mine. All right. Rachel says, so you believe gravity was suspended and the talking serpent. No, I believe that if Jesus walked on the water, as I believed he did when I was an early Christian, he had to have suspended gravity because it is said that he is God. Remember, that is one of the major reasons why the Islamic faith doesn't embrace Christianity, because they do not believe that a man can become God. Okay, that is the doctrine of incarnation, that divinity took on human flesh, and the flesh dwelt amongst us. Is found in the book of John. Uh, and then Tony Frazier says, believe, yes, Tony, you look, man, you have to believe it for yourself. Now, it mattered not to me whether Jesus walked on water or not, because I would not have stepped off the boat to try to join him. Because if I read the writ right, it was storming on the Sea of Galilee, and them disciples were fishermen, but they always was afraid that more water would come in the boat than space. And so I see them chucking the water out of the boat, and so the boat won't sink. And then they look up and they see Jesus coming to them, walking on the water. Now, the only thing that my cognitive mind could do was say, well, this man, this is like a Greek god. He had to have suspended gravity if he's God. Now, that's if you believe it. That's what most of the Christian world believes today. And I don't care how much stuff you put up on the internet, you are not going to stop people from believing this. Like, you're not going to stop people from believing in Buddha and Hare Krishna and everything else. Leave them alone. You laughing out loud, huh, old Ben? Yeah, I can imagine. You were an early Christian, so you don't believe in that no more. I didn't say that. Did I say that? I didn't say that. And it's interesting that you asked me that. Do I believe in it? I believe that Jesus was a personality that, let me see if I still got it here. Or did I throw it out? I think I threw it out. Oh my goodness. I had the book in my library here because whenever somebody asked me a question like that, I would go to, and I think I got rid of the book. Josephus. I had the complete, I thought I had the book here. The complete writing of the works of Josephus. It was a number of years ago, a number of young men came by my house and they saw my library, and I gave the major part of my library away. I just gave, so I must have given my Josephus, but I had two volumes. I had a larger volume and I had a smaller volume. Well, anyhow, Josephus was a Jewish historian. Hear me out. Josephus was a Jewish historian who documented Jewish history for the Romans. He was a civil servant with Jewish background, documenting for the Romans Jewish history. And the Jews were always a thorn in Rome's side. If you do the history of Palestine at that time, the conflict is still going on over there. But when I studied that, I came to understand that these people had to know what they were talking about because of what I see around me today. I'm looking at the pyramids of Egypt. Oh, don't get it twisted. We still don't know how they did that. And I think that was done through possibly the same kind of anti-gravitational process that Jesus used to walk on water. I don't put it past him. All right. Rachel Callahan says, I just want to know why we are still not performing those works and greater like that the scripture says. What shall it take? Or is it all false programming? No, I've been doing it. I did it. Look at my pictures on my Facebook page when I was doing the Saturday Bible class at the church. You see all those kids in there? All of them are grown now. Some of them are grandparents. Some of them still talk to me on Facebook. The Finister family. Their father was an associate minister with me at Olivet Baptist Church. When they chose me as a pastor, Lewis felt the call of God and he took his family and all the people that wanted to be with him. I said, y'all need any money? I was willing to give them money so they can buy another building. Because when one man sees himself as a preacher and there's another man as a preacher, me and Lewis didn't fight because J.B. Stanley taught us to love each other. We didn't fight. That's why for all the years that I was in ministry, I would always ask the guys with me, which one of you want to be the big man? Because I didn't ask for this. God forced me into it. So when you prove, this is what I told him. When you prove to me that you can do this far better than I'll step aside and resign and get my city job back. I didn't need that for no money. That's interesting. What shall it take? Or is it? No, it's not false programming. It's like Tony said earlier. You have to believe. You see, you must believe. And if you don't believe it, see, when I tried to reconcile all right, let me give you another one that. What was Sodom and Gomorrah all about? Why were those twin cities destroyed? A lot of far right Christians on the right, but said that was God judging all homosexuals, all transvestites, all LGBT people, and then I said, oh, so God caused us all to be born with these same things because there's millions of us all over the globe. And so this spectrum of humanity that God made, he made a mistake. And fire and brimstone is to burn us up in a smoldering sulfur pit, right? You think I believe that? That is ridiculous. And so when you ask me, do I still believe it? I never believed a lot of these things that these people on the far right, over the edge, people believe. Like that poor man that stabbed that little 6-year-old boy and stabbed his poor mama 35 times. See, listening to other people. You got don't listen to these. Listen to PJ. Don't listen to these other people. Yeah. Oh yeah. Elder Ben asked a great question here. He says he's laughing. Thank you, Ben. I'm glad you can laugh at it. The same gravitational pull for the pyramids? Yes. Okay. Is it that hard to believe that our ancestors were excellent mathematicians? No, it's not. And discovered what we've forgotten. You go into the Polynesian islands and you can see those big brick busts of these African type figures with big lips and wide noses. Nobody over there looking like that. We were there. We just don't know how they did it. They probably had something like we have in these electric vehicles. And I believe that by the year 2050, I may be gone by then. I probably will be. But by the year 2050, you're going to see it happening. You will see whole buildings just levitating and come and put that thing right down if they don't already have that figured out how to do it already. We are living in marvelous times. So that's what I believe about Jesus walking on water. And I believe that the other miracles of the body, remember there's so many miracles I used to have a book that had all the miracles in the Bible in it. And on Bible study night, I would put about 20 of them on a PowerPoint slide and we go through it. We had fun turning through our Bibles, looking at these things and I would ask, how did they do it? You guys can figure this out. Is this a lie? I'd ask them, do you think this is a lie that somebody perpetrated? Youngsters tell me, John, it was all a lie. You were taken in. You go ahead. I'm going to believe this for me. Oh my goodness, it's been an hour already. And I didn't know, but this is a good conversation. This is a very good conversation. The only thing that I'm asking you to do with me tonight is, in your freedom of expression and how you're enjoying your life, remember those that are dying all over the world. Families that have lost whole families because of the bombings, families that lost loved ones because of the shootings, the kidnappings. Please do that. So if I believe that I can turn water into wine, I could. Rachel, no. Why would you do that when you can go to the liquor store and get a bottle of vino? That would be wasted energy. And plus, if you did the wine, how would I know that your wine is pure? Because you were able to turn it into wine? You're bringing up the wedding at Cana. I believe it's John chapter 2 in the New Testament scriptures in the Bible. There was a wedding in Cana in Galilee, and Jesus was invited, and so was his disciples. And when Jesus had gotten to the wedding, Jesus' mother went to him and said, they ran out of wine. Now, first question that I had about that was, who gave her the right to go and tell him anything? Did Mary want to see a magic trick or something? So that caused a big question mark in my mind, but I kept reading. And Jesus looked at his mother and said, woman, what do you have to do with me? It's not yet my time. See, I have it all memorized because I was a pastor for over 40 years. I know the text. I'm not going to be tricked by questions that you haven't thought through. Listen to the rest of the writ. You have to turn to it in John chapter 2. Take your time and read it. What doesn't make sense, think through it. What does make sense, answer the question. Could it be true? That's what makes faith work in Christianity. If you don't believe it, don't believe it. You don't have to believe it. Now, wait a minute. Wait a minute. What happened? After a while, they had run out of wine and they asked Jesus what to do. And he told the man that was throwing the wedding party, bring me these two big containers, three of them, I think it was. And they put in there, it says, they had certain kind of leaves and stuff that you would put in there because when they poured water in, that killed all the germs and everything in it. So they did that. And then he says, now bring in some fresh water and pour it in these big things. And they filled three of them up with water and the leaf material that they used to clean the bottle with. When you go to seminary and graduate school, you study that. And you can ask PhDs and all those guys about how that works. They just didn't teach it to you and you had to believe it. Oh, I went to grad school when I was in my 40s. So I asked questions because they weren't going to trick me. And then Jesus told the servant, dip a little scoop in there and take it to the master of the feast. And when he took this wine to the master of the feast, you can read it yourself. The master of the feast tasted it. And he said to the bridegroom, the one that was responsible for having the refreshments, how could you do such an outrageous thing like you've done? The man looked up and said, what did I do? He said, you know, the custom is to always bring out the best wine first and serve it first. And so he said, well, I did. He says, no, this wine is far superior to the wine that we've been drinking. This is some good wine. You broke custom. That proved to me that he turned that water into something that they had never tasted. And you can't make up a story like that. Yes, I believe the miracles of the Bible. And that's why most Christians that really believed in our faith did, because we thought through it. But if you're looking for every excuse to deny reality of God, go ahead. Go ahead. There's coming a day. All right. Oh yeah, Tony. I got to speak out because they don't know. They think it's a joke. I wouldn't spend all that money if this was a joke. What's a joke is people like taking your money and blowing on you and all that kind of stuff. That's a joke. That's a joke. And then Rachel asked, when will we as a people move from mere belief to knowledge and facts? I thought we were there now. I really did. See, I don't believe because Dr. Dogood told me to believe. Dr. Dogood can write a book like this, and I'm going to read this book, and I'm sure I got it underlined where I'm making sense. Okay. Oh, uh, ooh, I just turned to one of the queries that I had. I was looking at here, and you see where I marked my page. This is it. See where I got that mark at? I'm going to read that to you. And look what it says. It said, this does not deny that substantial doctrinal truth is conveyed symbolically, parabolically, through typology, and through poetry. You have all those ways to define what that verse means. And you got to use one of those ways to bring it about. I taught that in the classroom when I taught homiletics. I mean, listen, and when ever anybody tries to deny the Bible, and what do you think these books are about? These aren't crazy people. Look, let me share some with you. I don't have a book in my name because I talk. I'm an avid communicator. I don't want to write a book. I don't. No. I only wrote a master's. I had a master's paperwork that I did, but I never worked on a PhD. Didn't want to do a PhD thesis. Don't need it. Got enough people doing it. Where's his other book that he wrote? Here he is right here. I'm going to show you somebody. And I believe he's still alive. One of the best professors that I had at Talbot, Michael Wilkins. Michael Wilkins was a surfer. He wrote these two books. This one right here, he talks about, he talks about what it means to follow Jesus. And this one right here, he defines Jesus through the book of Matthew. And this is a doctrinal study. This is called the concept of the disciple in Matthew's gospel. This was his PhD dissertation. And yeah, I bought it. I took him with Romans and Matthew. And Michael Wilkins, he was a surfer. He was a beach bum. He was everything that you wouldn't think somebody would be doing as a Christian. He was living the non-Christian life. And then he became a Christian, and he was one of the best professors I ever had in grad school. And I haven't spoken to him since I last went to Talbot Theological Seminary. I don't even go there because I think it's a clown university. They're playing over there. They're playing, but that's what everybody's doing. Belief, knowledge, and facts. Okay, well, let's see. Thank you, Tony. Rachel comes back and says, so because custom was broke based on a man in the story. Wait a minute. Let me read this right. I want to get it right, and I want to quote you right. And let me try to read it up here on this screen. Because custom was broke based on a man in the story saying it was better, so it makes it better true. I'm not reading you. Is this the logic of our Christian mind? If it sounds profound and repeat the profound message of the text to make it true? No, of course not, because someone with the brain would outthink me. Someone with the brain, what a very intelligent black man spoke to me once, and he said, John, you're a smart guy. Obviously, I'm surprised that you chose this field. You would have been better in teaching philosophy or a double major PhD, but why that? I said, I ask God that all the time, man. I don't know. It must be a reason God wanted me to do it. Now, since I didn't call myself in the ministry and I didn't want to be no preacher, and that's why I went to grad school, because I wanted to at least think cognitively enough about what I was telling people in my community about what they should believe about God. Um, I don't believe that I ever lied to them or tried to manipulate them to get any money from them or any sexual favors from them, like so many people in this class of this field of work does. I was genuinely trying to bring help to them. And I believe that there is an adequate number of men and now women who are out there doing exactly the same thing. Unfortunately, as in every trade, we have scandalous crooks operating. So it's not because of custom. Trust me, it's not because of custom. It's because of calling. Let me give you a good example. It's like, when you have a daughter and you tell a daughter, I want you to be a seamstress like mommy. And the daughter doesn't want to be a seamstress. And she detests it. That daughter, when she grows up, is going to do what she wants to do, whether mommy likes it or not. Now, when God called me to preach, I couldn't say, no, I'm not. Oh, no, I couldn't. I couldn't say it. Uh, I wish we had more of keeping it real, Tony. I don't know why a man won't keep it real. If you think what you're telling in the Bible is a far out fairy tale, just say you don't believe it. You're not a believer. I believe that something happened. These men wouldn't throw their lives away for something that was untrue. It's impossible. I wouldn't throw mine away for that. Rachel comes back and it says, so because custom was broken by the wine being better, according to the man in the story, saying so, it must be true. Where are the facts and the evidence that qualifies it uh, to be true outside of the story? Excellent question. I understand it. Because it would be shocking. It would be if you went to I forget what Jay-Z and Beyonce's daughter is named. I think she's Sky Blue or something like that. If you went to Sky Blue's wedding and people were all presenting their gifts, what would you think of somebody that brought Sky Blue or Coca-Cola in a can wrapped up for her wedding gift? What would you think? You would think that that person was wrongfully invited to the wedding because that's Beyonce's daughter's wedding. You bring a gift that is presentable for the person that you bring in the gift towards. The guy that knows what wine should have been served first said that the secondary wine was superior to the first. And that means that God, in his graciousness, doesn't produce garbage, but it always supersedes anything else that man does. That's why I believe that story to be true. Simple as that. And that's the way you conjure it up. Because the God that I worship ain't going to be bringing no third rate wine in there. No. It was a wedding feast. Study Jewish wedding feast 2,000 years ago, and you'll understand the importance of that statement. Since I quoted it to you verbatim without turning to the book, that should prove to you that I know the story. And if you go to John chapter 2 and read it, you can read the same thing, but you can walk away from reading it and saying, I don't believe that. You don't have to. It's not for you. That's not your faith. You can believe in anything you want to. Yeah. Yes. You don't have to believe. Go ahead. We don't have to be enemies. I believe that because it makes sense to me. I wouldn't have believed it if the guy said, this stuff is nastier than the stuff that we just drunk. Now, how would you feel about Jesus? What if he had said, this is some nasty stuff? What did you put in them containers? See, you think with your mind in Christianity. You think. I know a lot of us think that the white man used that to enslave us. A lot of it was used to enslave us. But think through it. That's why when I pastored the church, I didn't have, hey, you ask the people that used to attend the vet, Olivet Baptist Church in LA. Wasn't no dummies going there. Hey, I never had a problem getting somebody to come to Bible study. I taught the men's Bible study and the women's Bible study. I took the people up to Big Bear and Lake Arrowhead once a year for years to teach them certain principles on marriage and how to live with a man and all that kind of stuff. This is what godly men do. I had a preacher try to take, no, I don't even want to talk about it. Because I tell all my preachers, don't be going up there looking at these women up there. And don't be going up there looking at no men. Go up there to teach the lesson. Sometimes shenanigans go on when you let them go up in the mountains. People act like they can play around with it. So because custom was broken by the wine being better, according to the man in the story saying so, it must be true. Where are the facts and the evidence that qualifies it to be outside of the story? There are none. You left on your own. And then Tony says, perfect explanation. And yeah, see? You're on your own. You are on your own. I can't help you. I can't help you. You're on your own. And that's why when I say, can you feel sympathetic towards the people that are dying on the other side of the world? Their uncles and aunts and grandparents. I don't care what the cause of it was. I don't care who. I'm in sympathy for the guy that pressed the button that dropped the bomb. I know that the men that dropped the bomb over Hiroshima and Nagasaki, I know they had to talk with somebody when they got back and landed that B-52. How you feel about that? Because if you don't feel anything, and I heard what some of you said earlier, we have to deal with our own people. Oh no, you got to deal with all of humanity. That's a humanitarian thing. Humanitarian. All right. You explained it based upon pure belief. That's what Rachel told me. And then she said there was no facts used because it's a good story and that it makes sense and you're good with that. Isn't this belief thinking, demanding, damaging our community? Yes, it is. Because if you ask them to explain the way I just did, they couldn't. They're going to say, Pastor said. But didn't no pastor say to me, I thought. See, when I read my Bible, I read it for myself. I don't read it because the pastor told me to read it. I don't even have my Bible over here today. Matter of fact, I haven't read from this book in weeks. This is my preaching Bible. I haven't picked it up in weeks. In weeks. I don't have to. You know why? His word I have hid in my heart that I might not sin against him. I don't have to keep reading this. No, I don't have to do that. Oh, I like that. Tony Frazier jumped in answering your question. He says, yes, because it can happen here too. That's right. The same miracles that happened back there 2,000 years ago can happen in your life today. And the reason that it's not happening in the so-called life of the church today, because they don't believe. They're smart. They got their degrees. They have AI. They got Google. I understand. And that doesn't bother me because I'm old school and that's the way we survive. That's the way our ancestors survived. That's the way we today are going to survive. And I'm telling you that what we have to do is we have to get into the habit of making the right kind of decisions when it comes to belief. I do not believe that Jesus was an Anglo-Saxon Protestant. I do not believe that Jesus looked anything like the pictures painted by him. I do not believe it. If I want to see how Jesus looks, I would go over there and look in the face of the people that's walking in the desert out there and doing that, and probably look more like that. Now I know that there's a large group of us African Americans thinking that everything is black, and rightfully so. We were the first peoples on the planet. That's been proven. We know that melanin runs deep in me. And I'm thankful to God that I look more like the original man than ever before. I thank God for that. Yeah. But you know what? It's up to us individually to believe. I think Tony's right. See, if you don't believe it, then you have another system by which you do your life. I don't have to read my Bible every day. I know what the Bible said. If I remember the whole Canaan wedding in Cana in Galilee verbatim, I should remember it. I've been teaching it for over 40 years. That's where we get the term scholar from. Because a lot of these new preachers, what they're doing is they're trying to make preaching a psychological thing. They're trying to put Paul in a category of being a psychic. No, no. Mm-mm. Paul was beaten up and left for dead many times. We as Christians today would say, oh, he couldn't have been saved. If the Holy Ghost wasn't with him to protect him, he got beat up every day of the week. Right. If you don't believe it, you're right, Tony. Tony, it takes individual belief. People are offended at that because they don't want nobody telling them what they have to do. I'm saying right now on this forum, you don't have to do anything if you don't want to. As for me, I'm going to follow what God tells me to follow. I believe in that. That's what I'm going to do. You, Now, whenever I read certain things in the Bible, I come across it. If I don't understand it, if I need to do research on it, that's why I have portions of my library here in my study. Because the Bible says it. I won't turn to it. It says, study to show yourself approved unto God, a workman that needeth not to be ashamed, but rightly dividing the word of truth. Rightly dividing means cutting it straight. It's a Greek term. It's a beautiful term in the Greek. I heard a preacher that passed on give a definition of that verse, and he said that rightly dividing meant be able to divide the Old Testament from the New. Well, Fred was wrong when he said that. He was wrong. I was in Chicago the weekend that he did his ever increasing faith, and he was wrong. I said, Lucy, did you hear what this man just said? I said, this proves he has no knowledge of the working Greek and the language at all. The Bible is a transliteration from another language, another culture, another time. And when these preachers are talking to these people, you need to tell them. So, Rachel, it's not just believing a certain thing that you read. The preacher has to, it took me a whole, how many hours? It took an average of 20 to 25 hours a week to work on a sermon, and my sermons were 90 minutes long. And remember, I had the sermon on Sunday, class on Tuesday and Thursday, radio on Sunday nights, and plus, I'm running the whole church. I had to do teacher staff meetings, assignments, the disciplining, the marriage counseling. I did everything. And for somebody to tell me that I was faking it, I just look at that person and say, you know what? Good luck with you in life if you think life is that way. I'm thinking that these so-called pastors today, if they couldn't do what I did and survive. And good luck for you lady pastors, because it's just my belief that a man is going to listen to a man before he listens to his grandmother. He's going to listen to a man. I just don't believe in that. Are you kidding, Tony? Is that what you call it? Busy? It was my life. My life. Plus, I'd go out and try to love people and share with people. I've never performed a wedding where any of the couples came back and told me that everything you said at our wedding was a lie. It all turned out right. They're still with each other, yet with each other, because they practice the principles of my faith. Well, thank you. It's been a great time. It's I hope that you can sympathize. That's what I was trying to get you to do, to sympathize for the pain that other people are feeling across the world. And because we Americans, I got to admit, I'm sitting in Los Angeles. I'm in my home. I just did there's no bombs flying over. And hey, but I feel their loss. I feel their loss. I feel the loss of the Israelis. I know why their soldiers want to give the payback, but you can't, because humanity didn't do that. This is what I believe too as I end up, and you can mark me on this. I'm one that believes that if you do anything against humanity that you did not have to do, that in some kind of way there's going to be retribution coming back. That's a given. And I don't give retribution. I'll be praying for the one on whom the retribution comes, because it's not gonna. I just believe that if I did anything against men or women or children, that after I leave here, it's not going to be very good for me. Yeah, man, that's what they call it. It's not going to be very good for me in the next life. Please, please don't hurt humans. Don't hurt us. Don't hurt them. Because when I saw that boy crying, sitting on that concrete, his mom and dad had gone and his whole family's gone, I just wanted to jump through the screen and hold him, hold that boy, give him a cold glass of water and say, drink this, son. Come on, live with me. It's going to be okay. It's going to be all right. But he's orphaned. And they won't even let food in. If it's one thing I want you to still believe in prayer. Talk to somebody somewhere that can bring those people comfort. This is the way Jesus put it, then I'll end. He said, peace, my peace, I leave unto you. And then he said, not as the world giveth, give I unto you. And when I looked up that term peace in the Greek, it's the Greek term irene, where we get our English word irony from. Because it's ironic how you can find peace in the midst of a storm from a God that promised never to leave you alone. I hope that you can adopt that theory of life. Well, I've gone over a minute. God bless you. Thank you for coming to my stream page, and thank you for praying for me, those of you that have. I see I'm looking better than I was when I got out of the hospital, and I'm going to keep shaved up and toned up right so that I can look halfway intelligent. Tell your friend about coming to PJ's to listen to his comments. I'd love to hear from them. Good night.